story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Frank Omalape. In our major story, President Goodluck Jonathan promises 2 million jobs if re-elected. Also in this program, Buhari takes campaign to Abeokuta, promises to make Nigeria great. And the Independent National Electoral Commission says voting will not take place in any territory, towns or villages under Boko Haram occupation. And outside Nigeria, divers in Indonesia have recovered the cockpit data recorder of crashed AirAsia plane from the Java Sea. Thank you tonight for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News. We'll begin tonight with President Goodluck Jonathan, which has taken his quest for re-election to Osogbo, the Osun State capital, with a promise to create 2 million jobs in a year if re-elected. He also said he is willing to protect freedom of people and make life more abundant. Our correspondent Rashid has more in this report.
Party faithful from across Osun State gathered for the People's Democratic Party presidential campaign at the popular Nelson Mandela Freedom Park as opposed to the more spacious Osogbo Township Stadium. One by one, party leaders addressed the gathering, telling them of the importance of re-electing President Goodluck Jonathan and that it will lead to prosperity for the nation.
PDP is the answer in Nigeria. PDP has stabilized this country for 15 years and will continue for another 15 years. What is good for the goose is always good for the gander. If we can have the opportunity of serving 2 terms in the Southwest, why don't we give the South the opportunity of serving 2 terms? The TV supporters of PDP these days, we are here to support you, to ensure you that we are winning elections in this state.
Vice President Namadi Zambo says theirs is an administration that has achieved. He also boasted about the academic qualification of the president.
He's the first fully well-educated president that has a PhD. And myself, as an architect, supporting him. He does the sciences, and I do the designing, and we reconstruct and develop Nigeria.
President Goodluck Jonathan described Osun as his second state, reminiscing on his year as a youth corps member in the state in the 80s. He directed his address particularly to the youth, whom he promised of more gainful employment if re-elected.
And our commitment is that we must provide at least 2 million jobs every year. Because from my estimates, about 1.8 million Nigerians enter the labor market every year. So if we're able to create 2 million jobs every year, within a period of 4 or 5 years, we are able to absorb all young Nigerians that are technically qualified. And one day, you will know the difference between those who are committed to change and those who are being hypocritical about issues. We are not hypocrites. We will work with you. We will change the future of this country.
President Jonathan lost in Osun State during the 2011 presidential election, while his party, the PDP, also lost all elective posts to the then Action Congress of Nigeria, now All Progressive Congress. Rashid, CoreTV News, Osogbo.
And from Osun State, the presidential campaign train of the People's Democratic Party moves to Ekiti State, with the PDP controlled state at a virtual standstill for the president as schools and offices were closed at 12 noon in his honor. Rashid was there and fires in this report.
The man who started the resurrection
When he came for the governorship campaign of Ayodele Fayoshi, President Goodluck Jonathan boasted at that time that when next he visits Ekiti, it will be under the firm grip of the PDP. And so it is, with offices and schools closed at midday in his honor. Party leaders spoke on why Jonathan should be re-elected.
Ekiti has more than 60% of all the professors in Nigeria. You have no business voting for somebody whose school certificate or yet result is not available. Nigeria is working. Anybody who tells you it is not, the man is already 6 feet below the ground. Because he's not alive to know. They want to use Buhari as shield. When a supposed president, somebody wants to be president, he said, I will be trying my best to put an economic team together. I want to adopt what the other people have said. What is he saying?
As accolades pour in from party faithful, Ekiti indigents, however, made these demands from the president.
It is time for new generation to move us to the greatest height. He has assured us that Nigerian students will take us to the moon. They want to take us to the sky. We, after him, will take the country to the moon.
Today, what we are expecting from the president this time around is our airport, Ekiti State, in the airport, so that there will be development.
The president in his speech at the rally says he will improve on his numerous achievements if he is re-elected.
In Ekiti State, I will not want to enumerate projects we have done. I've mentioned that you don't need to ask me. When we were coming for Fayos's presentation, we drove from Akure down to Ado Ekiti, and I noticed that no, that road needs to be resurfaced, and we promised that we are going to do that road.
Presidential candidates traverse the length and breadth of Nigeria, selling their manifestos to electors. The power to elect who is going to lead Nigeria in the next 4-year political dispensation now lies in the hands of the voters as they troop out on the 14th of February to elect the president. And before then, it's still the game on. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
The opposition of the former President Olusegun Obasanjo to the re-election bid of President Goodluck Jonathan poses no threat to his bid for a return as President of Nigeria come February 14th. Ayo Addition Senator representing Oyo Central Senatorial District says the number of supporters who turned out at the campaign ground is a clear indication of the party's electoral victory, both at the state and federal level.
Feels uncomfortable with what's going on, they have the right to go and vote for another party or even join another party if they so desire. There's nothing wrong with that. But I can't see that affecting this man's chance of money. I mean, Jonathan has proven himself. Obasanjo was president for 8 years. All of these problems that we're talking about, if those problems had been solved 8 years earlier, we would not be in this same quagmire. So I don't see that. In fact, I think if Jonathan had not learned to pull away from the overall direction of Obasanjo, for instance, would have continued along the same path that helped to create the very terrible economic morass we're in now, the unconscionable level of unemployment amongst the youths.
According to Adesheun, the only mistake of the Jonathan-led administration is failure to do more publicity for its many achievements.
Interestingly, Nigeria, until like 6 months ago, used to import an average of 1 billion naira worth of rice every day. 1 billion naira worth of rice every day. That's 365 billion naira or more per year. Now, that import bill has been reduced by 50%. In 2 years or so, it would have been reversed. Nigeria will now be a net exporter of food products. That means fundamental change in the structure of agricultural production in Nigeria. Our farmers will now be going to the international market to be selling their products to be earning money. We'll be conserving foreign exchange. Look at all of those things. If one man has been able to achieve all these in this short space of time, it's only fair that we allow him an extension.
Meanwhile, the campaign train of the All Progressive Congress for the presidential election hit Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, under the leadership of the party's national chairman, John Odigi. Speaking at the event, Odigi says the party is the change that Nigeria needs now, urging the people to go out and collect their permanent voter cards and vote for the APC presidential ticket of Buhari Osinbajo. A national leader of the party, Bola Tinubu, in his speech, flagged the PDP for resorting to what he termed as campaign of calumny. Muhammadu Buhari, in his speech, promised to lead the nation to prosperity and banish poverty and unemployment from the land, especially amongst the youth. Barely 24 hours after President Goodluck Jonathan's campaign tour and party chieftains left the residence of former President Olusegun Obasanjo in Abeokuta, the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Muhammadu Buhari, and his running mate Yemi Osinbajo, accompanied by the national leader of the party, Bola Tinubu, national chairman John Odigi, national vice chairman Southwest Shegoni, BC Akonde, and other leaders were at the hilltop residence of former President Olusegun Obasanjo to visit him to discuss with him on state of the nation and burning national issues. In his response, Olusegun Obasanjo says that despite party affiliations, the issue of Nigeria should be paramount in all other manifestos. He also commended on the sincerity of Muhammadu Buhari during his past administration as the head of state and outrightly endorsed him as a man of character. The national leader, Bola Tinubu, attributed the emergence of Buhari's candidacy to the recurring issues of development stalling the nation's growth. And now a group known as Nollywood Team Buhari, under the platform of Nollywood Stakeholders Forum, has endorsed the Buhari Osinbajo ticket for, according to them, a better Nigeria Camp 2015. A correspondent to Luashi Adeguke was at the press briefing organized by the forum filed in this report.
With the current security situation in the country and the high rate of corruption, a group known as the Nollywood Team Buhari says Muhammadu Buhari is the only candidate that can guarantee safety for all Nigerians. While addressing journalists in Lagos, the coordinator of the Nollywood Team Buhari, Harris Chuma, says Nigeria deserves a competent and firm leader.
Fellow Nigerians, we deserve a competent leader who will walk the talk, who will talk less and do more. We must say no to an angry president who lacks respect to beggars. A sitting president who holds his predecessors motto packed out. Nollywood, Nigerians, this is the right time to act. We must all rise to the occasion and vote him out. The opportunity has presented itself once again. We urge you to go out there on February 14th and vote for Buhari.
Harris added that a new Nollywood is only possible with Buhari.
He has promised to support the creative industry and encourage movie makers and entertainers through the setting up of the Creative Industry Finance Corporation. He has plans to appoint professional motion picture practitioners to man relevant government agencies. He will take Nollywood to an enviable height. He has promised and will not disappoint.
The Director General Campaign and Publicity Secretary of Nollywood Team Buhari, Alex Nyewo, and Aisha Abimbola both say it is time for a big change in Nigeria.
Corruption at all tiers of government, local, state, and federal. So for us in Nollywood Team Buhari, we believe, because of his antecedent, when he had a stint to lead this country as head of state, we believe strongly that candidate Buhari will deal with the issue of corruption once and for all squarely.
But I'm here because I know it's time for a change. And I say a big change. Taking like 2-3% of the non-local practitioners. Whatever you think you're doing for them is not not going around. We are not feeling the impacts. We want a change.
The forum vows to work assiduously for the Buhari-Osinbajo ticket to emerge victorious come February 14, 2015. Oluwaseyi Adegoke, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The All Progressive Congress has once again restated its call for a meeting of the leadership of the APC and the People's Democratic Party to stem the rising cases of violence ahead of the forthcoming polls. In a statement in Lagos on Tuesday by its National Publicity Secretary Lai Mohammed, the party says such a meeting would send a strong message of zero tolerance for violence to the supporters of both parties, those of other parties, other people in Nigeria, and the international community. APC stated that the call is a follow-up to the practical steps taken by the party dating back to May 2014, when it first rose to the leadership of the PDP calling for such a meeting. The party said, however, that whether or not the PDP signs or to such a meeting, the APC will continue to educate its members and supporters on the need to eschew all forms of violence before, during, and after the elections. APC restated its pledge to continue working for violence-free polls next month, alleging that the opposition party had been at the receiving end of a series of grave acts of violence in recent times. The All Progressive Congress Presidential Campaign Organization says Muhammadu Buhari will lift the veil of secrecy from the operations of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and NPC if elected president on February 14. The Campaign Council said in a statement from its Directorate of Media and Publicity on Tuesday that lack of transparency and corruption are the twin reason the economy comes under heavy shock anytime there is instability in the global oil market. The party assured Nigerians in the statement signed by the campaign spokesman Garba Shehu that if elected into the office, an APC-led government will promote credible bookkeeping in the day-to-day workings of the NNPC. It added that in spite of several reforms in about 14 years, the petroleum sector is still largely underdeveloped due to lack of political will of the Jonathan administration. APC says Buhari will ensure comprehensive review of the entire petroleum revenue collection and reporting system to ensure full disclosure and accountability, create a level playing field for all investors, operators, and service providers in the oil and gas sector, and reduce wastage as well as improve efficiency. You see, CoreTV Primetime News, we'll be back after this timeout with more details to come your way. Join us again.
Niger has got her pulse back. Now you can call from your campus and from over 500 other campuses at 11 copies per second all day to any network, plus lots of other awesome benefits. Dial *406#. Step into the pulsing zone. It's MTN iPulse, baby. Back, bigger, and better.
Awesome P. MTN. Everywhere you go.
If you're joining us, this is CoreTV Primetime News. Let's take a look at some of the top stories that made headlines tonight. President Goodluck Jonathan promises 2 million jobs if re-elected. Also in this program, Buhari takes campaign to Abeokuta, promises to make Nigeria great. The Independent National Electoral Commission says voting will not take place in any territory, towns or villages under Boko Haram occupation. For more details on our news, you can also reach us on our social media platforms. Visit our Facebook page, is facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow at CoreTV News NG. For our previous news production, log on to youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, then news. And now Senate President David Mark warns members of the political class to avoid actions that will cast Nigeria in bad light before, during and after next month's elections. He also wants the Independent National Electoral Commission to ensure that all eligible voters are not disenfranchised. This was the thrust of a welcome speech to senators on their resumption from the Christmas and New Year holidays. Senator Mark also urged his colleagues to work for an election devoid of violence regardless of their party affiliations. Edo State Governor Adams Oshiomhole on Tuesday said the All Progressive Congress APC governorship candidate in the state, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, reported the state on the path of progress. Speaking during inauguration of APC's campaign council in the state ahead of the 2015 election, Oshiomhole also argued that El-Rufai will not only bring about a cogent development but also genuinely unite the diverse people in the state. The Edo State Governor described Nasir El-Rufai as a practical man with a history of fixing things and the capacity to rebuild Kaduna State. National Chairman of the party, John Odigi Oyegun, in his remarks said El-Rufai is a competent and tested leader that will bring about positive change in the state. Odigi Oyegun was represented by the Deputy National Chairman of the party, Senator Lawal Shuaibu, maintained that APC is offering Nigerians a result-oriented leadership that will pave way for a genuine development. Ahead of the February general elections, Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has presented the All Progressive Congress gubernatorial candidate in the state, Akinwumi Ambode, to the leadership and members of transport unions in the state. Fashola, who spoke at a town hall meeting with the transport unions, described Ambode as a candidate that has the ability to consolidate on the excellent work of his administration. Highlighting his plan for the operators of the informal sector, Ambode says if elected, his government will initiate programs that will further the gains of the transporters under the current administration.
Is that the next level we're taking Lagos State to is that level that touches on your lives, on your jobs, and on the trade in which you are doing. We are going to give greater recognition to all of you seated here. So the political will, which is already established by the incumbent governor, is what we just want to add value to and make it possible for every of our workers in Lagos State to have dignity in labor.
The Independent National Electoral Commission says 68,833,476 eligible voters are registered to vote in the February 2015 general elections. It has, however, ruled out voting in villages, communities, and towns occupied by Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast. INEC Chairman Atahiru Jega disclosed this to journalists on the sidelines of a meeting with representatives of registered political parties in Abuja.
In line with the provisions of the law, the Commission has just announced the publication of the register of voters that will be used for the February 2015 general elections. And from the presentation that was made, the total number of registered voters for the elections is 68,833,476. INEC has always said that it is preparing to conduct elections in all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital, including the 3 Northeast states experiencing the challenge of insurgency. In these 3 states, there are areas that are occupied by insurgents. And obviously, it stands to reason, and this is something we have said consistently, elections are unlikely to take place in these areas. But that does not mean that we will not conduct elections in these 3 states, or that we have doubts about conducting elections in these 3 states. And I think it's very, very important that this distinction is made.
Over 900,000 are currently displaced in the 3 northeastern states of Adamawa, Yobe, and Borno as a result of insurgency and other factors. This, according to the National Emergency Management Agency, is slightly above 10% of the combined population of the 3 states. NEMA officials disclosed this at the opening of a closed-door meeting with their colleagues from the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, in Abuja. The agency insists that the figure is from data collated as of January 9. On people's displaced from Baga, NEMA says they are at present housed in 12 camps in Maiduguri.
Displacement is quite different from those that have been affected. There are those that have been directly affected and those that have been indirectly affected. So I'm very, very happy and delighted this meeting, because this is the kind of platform that we've been looking for to discuss issues, especially when you read on the pages of newspapers and other international media and internet, quoting different figures of displacement, and then people making pronouncement that has no basis. So we are concerned as a government that we need to put to record straight.
The Bring Back Our Girls movement is to meet former President Olusegun Obasanjo and 2 elder statesmen as part of effort to continue to put the abduction of the 219 Chibok girls and similar abductions on the front burner of national discourse. The other prominent Nigerians, members of the group, are scheduled to meet on Tuesday Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka and former High Commissioner to the UK, Christopher Kolade. The protest movement said in a statement that the visits to Abeokuta and Lagos are meant to ensure that a statement help amplify the Bring Back Our Girls campaign by reaching out to the government. This says it with a view to ensuring that the authorities provide clear information on the status of the rescue operation and for government to prioritize the rescue of all abducted Nigerians. Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola says the state government will assist traders affected by the Balogun Market fire incident. Our correspondent Abiola Oluwole was at the site of the incident for the visit of Governor Fashola to the market. His report is presented from our studios.
24 hours after fire broke out at the popular Balogun Market on Lagos Island, firefighters are still battling to put out the inferno. Goods worth millions of naira were lost during the unfortunate incident. As of the time of Fashola's visit, smoke was still seen coming out of the affected buildings. The director of Lagos State Fire Service, Razak Fadikbe, was on hand to brief Governor Fashola on possible cause of the fire incident and efforts of firefighters to put it out.
These high-rise buildings were surrounded by illegal structures. Some of the illegal structures were even of a story building as well. So we found it difficult when we arrived there. The 2 fire trucks that earlier arrived there came from Sari Gomu and Inupeju. As at the time they arrived, they discovered that the fire was met well alight and it had engulfed the 3 buildings.
After listening to some of the traders affected by the incident, Fashola promised that government will assist them to ameliorate the impact of the sad event.
Some of us see pain inside this plaza. Majority of us are collecting our goods at last week after we came New Year. As for me now, I know that I'm finished. There is nothing with me.
And I sympathize with you, especially women trying to earn a living to keep body and soul together. And be assured that our government will stand by you. We will help you get back on your feet. We will help you get back on your businesses.
He also appealed to trade unions to take up insurance as a bailout in times of emergency.
The traders union must understand the value of insurance when these kind of accidents happen. And I've appealed to them that their unions and their leadership should meet, persuade their membership about the value of insurance. The premiums are often not a lot of money, but they can come in handy when emergencies like this happen.
According to Fashola, shunning indiscriminate storage of inflammable materials at home and switching off all unused electrical appliances will help avert avoidable fire incident in the state and the country at large.
You're also watching the CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take a break now. We'll be back with business, sport, and stories outside Nigeria. Just stay with us.
Niger has got her pulse back. Now you can call from your campus and from over 500 other campuses at 11 copies per second all day to any network, plus lots of other awesome benefits. Dial *406#. Step into the pulsing zone. It's MTN iPulse, baby. Back, bigger, and better.
Awesome P. MTN. Everywhere you go.
In business tonight, the Senate has approved the appointment of Okwu Joseph Onana as the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank representing the Southeast geopolitical zone of the country. Senators unanimously endorsed the appointment after a report on his screening by the Joint Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions. The committee described Onana as a vibrant economist who proved his ability to efficiently handle the responsibility of the position. As senators resume from their holiday break, a number of them are not sure that the 2015 budget can be passed before elections next month. This is in spite of assurances of speedy consideration from the leadership of the National Assembly. The cite issues in the proposal that needs to be resolved, but some others are convinced that the bill will sail through within a
Northeast is giving $5 billion in the name of presidential program for Northeast for the insurgency issues that we have, and then over 63 billion is appropriated for 30,000 ex-militants. I think there is no equity, there is no justice in this kind of provision, and I cannot sit here and just pass that kind of budget. So we need to work on the budget. We need to ensure that there is equity, there is fairness, there is justice in the distribution of the resources of the country, and we cannot just pass it without doing the scrutiny. If we have to do that, how do you now take the elections as a factor? So there should be no pressure on the National Assembly members that we must pass the budget because the country will be held to ransom. The country will not be held to ransom. Section 82 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, provides for the president to spend up for not exceeding 6 months 50% of what we passed 2014.
You cannot work on the budget without knowing what should be the benchmark. As of yesterday, the price of crude oil is still nosediving. So what do we use as a benchmark? Because not just passing the figure that matters to me. What matters to me is passing a realistic budget. And to pass a realistic budget, you must have the benchmark. You must know what is going to be your income. If you don't know that, how can you come with a budget?
I think after our sitting tomorrow, thereabouts, the rest of the month will be devoted to dealing with the budget. And we'll deal with it and pass it before we go for the elections.
The Executive Commissioner Operations of the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC), Moni Guazo, has taken over from Aroma Ote, the outgoing Director General of the Commission, as the Acting Director General. This was announced by Ote at a formal handover ceremony at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja on Monday. His shares was able to articulate it in one phrase, building a world-class market, she said. She therefore appealed to staff to continue to work hard and support the leadership to ensure that the brand that has been built is not taken away. The acting DG Guazo was born in 1956 and attended Bayero University, Kano, with a BSc in economics in 1987. In 1991, he proceeded to the University of Birmingham, where he obtained a postgraduate degree in development finance. Guazo is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. In 2005, became a fellow of the institute. He has acted in Nigerian capital market as an operator and regulator. Now, the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development said on Monday that the light section mill of the Ajaokuta and Delta Steel companies will commence production in 2015. The Director of Steel and Non-Ferrous Metals Department in the ministry, Abdullah, says both companies have signed memorandum of understanding with different private investors and billet conversion to iron rods and other steel materials. Global Infrastructure was unable to repay its loan and pay workers' salaries. Also, the bank sold the debt to Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria and also had the challenge of replacing or repairing broken down machines. And now let's join Sabena Zopo for a report of the activities from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report is brought to you by MTN.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Hello there and welcome to the Stock Market Report segment with me, Sabena Izuku. The equities market on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed on a negative note today as the All Shares Index depreciated by 1.14% to close at 29,889.86 basis points. The market capitalization decreased to close at 9.89 trillion naira. In all, a total volume of 307.9 million units of shares valued at 3.1 billion naira were exchanged in 5,149 deals. On the gainers side, Peter Glass topped the gainers chart to close at 28 naira 60 kobo with a gain of 82 kobo, followed by Flour Mill, Union Bank of Nigeria, Owando, and Zenith Bank. On the flip side, Nestle topped the chart, trailed by Seplat Oil, 40 Oil, Nigerian Breweries, and Total Oil. Meanwhile, Axis Bank topped the traders chart, followed by First Bank of Nigerian Holdings, ICO Insurance, WAPIC, and Guarantee Trust Bank. Just before we wrap up the stock market report, here's the currency trade for today.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report is brought to you by MTN.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Thank you very much, Sabena Izoko, for that market report. This is CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take another break now. I'll be back shortly. Do join us again.
Our style, that's what he delivered.
Taking them out in the lead
And sports tonight, English Premier League champions Manchester City have informed Nigeria Football Federation they will not release Kelechi Iheanacho and Chidebere Nwakali for the 2015 African Youth Championship in March in Senegal. Both players were among 9 foreign-based pros called up by the Flying Eagles for the African Youth Championship and handed a Thursday deadline. In a mail signed by City's Scouting and Recruitment Operations Manager, Fegal Hakin, the EPL side said Iheanacho is injured and may not be fit till mid-March, while Nwakali is about to be loaned out to a club in Europe. With regards to Kelechi Iheanacho is currently injured, we believe he will be fit around the middle of March, but can't keep in contract regarding his recovery, read Tuesday's mail in part. For Chidebere Nwakali, they say we are currently in the process of agreeing his loan due to Europe, and he will not be available to meet up with the national team until further notice. New Crystal Palace manager Alan Pardew has signed Arsenal striker Yaya Sanogo on loan until the end of the season, the Premier League club confirmed on Tuesday. The French under-21 striker is Pardew's first signing since he succeeded Neil Warnock at Silhawk Park. Pardew told the club's official website he is a young player with tremendous promise, somebody that I have tracked personally, and this club has two souls that lifted well. The 21-year-old Sanogo joined the Gunners at the start of last season from Osprey and featured in their FA Cup final with Overhaul in May. Pardew made the perfect start in his return to Crystal Palace by overseeing a 2-1 comeback victory over Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday. It was the first win in 9 league games for Crystal Palace, whereas 6 from bottom of the Premier League, 1 point above the first relegation spot. And outside Nigeria now, divers retrieved the cockpit voice recorder from the wreck of an AirAsia passenger jet on Tuesday. This expert says is a key step towards determining the cause of the crash that killed 162 people. Indonesia AirAsia's flight QZ8501 lost contact with air traffic control in bad weather on December 28 last year, less than halfway into a 2-hour flight from Indonesia's second biggest city of Surabaya to Singapore, where there were no survivors. The cockpit voice recorder, which retains the last 2 hours of conversation between the pilot and air traffic controllers, was found close to where the flight data recorder was recovered from the bottom of the Java said on Monday. Together, the black box, which are actually arranged containing a wealth of data that will be crucial for investigators piecing together this sequence of events that led to the Airbus A320-200 plunging into the sea. And now Pope Francis has called for respect for human rights, inclusivity, and the pursuit of truth on arrival in Sri Lanka to begin a 6-day Asian tour. The pontiff, who will later travel to the Philippines, plans to celebrate open-air masses during his trip and is the first Papa visit to Sri Lanka since the end of a 26-year-old civil war in 2009. Speaking on the tarmac of Colombo's International Airport shortly after he landed, the Pope said that peace could be found by cultivating those virtues which foster reconciliation, solidarity and peace. Some Sri Lankans, however, say they are excited by the Pope's visit, saying even a visit to the Vatican cannot compare.
It's like the biggest thing here at the moment. I mean, even if you go to Vatican, I'm sure you won't be able to see him up close like this. So yeah, it's really great. I'm so happy.
The new election and the new president being elected, I think it's a perfect time for the Pope to come in to maybe resolve all the conflicts here and bring more hope and unity to the country.
The God we can see other than Jesus, so like we can get a lot of blessings.
It's CoreTV Primetime News. Just before we go tonight, here is a recap of some of our major stories. We told you that President Goodluck Jonathan promises 2 million jobs if re-elected. We also reported that Buhari takes campaign to Abeokuta and promises to make Nigeria great. And finally, the Independent National Electoral Commission says voting will not take place in any territory, towns or villages under Boko Haram occupation. Well, and that's the show tonight. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalabe. Do have a very good night rest. Bye.